How Ayrton Senna conquered the world and changed the history of Formula One. Hey, everyone! Welcome to the channel. Today, we're diving into the story of the greatest Formula One driver of all time, Ayrton Senna da Silva, an icon not just on the track but also in life. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell because what's coming up will keep you glued to the screen. And don't forget to comment on what topic you'd like to see in the next video. Chapter 1. The beginning in karting. Ayrton Senna's motorsport journey began in Sao Paulo, more specifically at the Interlagos karting track, where he took his first laps in a kart. Ayrton was only 4 years old when he received his first kart, a gift from his father, Milton da Silva. The kart had a lawnmower engine, but even then, Ayrton already displayed a natural talent for driving. At 13 years old, he began to compete officially, entering the world of kart racing. In the beginning, the competitions were local, and challenges were plenty. The competition was tough, and conditions weren't always favorable. Ayrton faced difficulties, such as the lack of financial resources compared to other competitors, but he had the unwavering support of his family. He raced in different cities, often needing to improvise to compete with less advanced equipment. This didn't stop him from standing out and achieving important victories. Ayrton's dedication was truly remarkable. He spent hours training, adjusting his kart, and learning from each race. The young driver's talent quickly began to attract attention, and it didn't take long for him to win his first titles. Among them were the Sao Paulo State Championship and the Brazilian Kart Championship, which he won several times, showcasing his consistency and skill on various track conditions. Even though he was a standout in Brazil, Ayrton's dream was to compete in world championships. In 1978, he participated in the Kart World Championship for the first time. Although he didn't win, he impressed with his determination and aggressive driving style, traits that would become his trademark. He continued competing in international tournaments, facing high-level opponents and accumulating experience that would later be essential in his career. Karting was more than just an entry point for Ayrton. It was where he learned the lessons that would shape his entire life. He often said that karting was the school of motorsport. With each victory, and especially with each defeat, Ayrton gained knowledge that helped mold him into the driver who would come to dominate the Formula One tracks. Despite facing numerous challenges, he never gave up on his dreams, proving that hard work and passion are the driving forces behind success. Chapter 2. The move to England. In the early 1980s, Ayrton Senna realized that in order to achieve his dream of reaching Formula One, he would need to compete in Europe, where motorsport was much more developed. In 1981, with the support of his family and sponsors, he decided to move to England and begin his journey in the lower tiers of motorsport. This move marked the beginning of a phase filled with challenges and triumphs. Upon arriving in England, Ayrton found himself in an environment completely different from what he was used to in Brazil. The cold and rainy weather was a stark contrast to the tropical heat of Sao Paulo, and homesickness was a constant companion. Additionally, he faced difficulties with the language barrier and adapting to the local culture. But, as expected, Ayrton didn't let these obstacles prevent him from pursuing his goal. Ayrton began by competing in the Formula Ford 1600, a highly competitive category that had already produced many great talents for global motorsport. From his very first season in 1981, he demonstrated why he was considered a phenomenon. Ayrton won 12 of the 20 races he participated in and claimed the title of the category. This overwhelming performance was enough to grab the attention of the specialized media and larger teams. In 1982, Ayrton took another step in his career and moved up to compete in the Formula Ford 2000. Once again, he dominated the category, winning 22 of the 28 races he participated in. This impressive performance not only solidified his reputation as an extremely talented driver but also opened the doors to Formula 3, the final step before Formula One. By 1983, in the British Formula 3 Championship, Ayrton faced one of the biggest challenges of his career so far. He engaged in an epic battle with Martin Brundle, who was also considered a major motorsport prospect. The championship battle was intense and was only decided in the final race of the season, with Ayrton emerging as the champion. This victory marked a turning point that firmly placed him on the radar of Formula One teams. The move to England was crucial to Ayrton Senna's career. It was there that he not only honed his skills as a driver but also demonstrated his ability to overcome adversity and compete at the highest level against the best in the world. Each victory and title won in the lower categories were stepping stones that led him to become one of the greatest names in motorsport history. Chapter 3. His first year in Formula One. The long-awaited moment arrived in 1984 when Ayrton Senna finally made his debut in Formula One. He signed a contract with the modest Toleman team, known for its limited resources and cars that weren't exactly the most competitive on the grid. Nevertheless, Ayrton saw Toleman as an opportunity to showcase his talent to the world, and it didn't take long for him to impress. Right from the first races, Ayrton demonstrated an incredible ability to push the Toleman car beyond its limitations. The highlight of his debut season came at the Monaco Grand Prix, held under intense rain. Ayrton started from 13th place, and with flawless driving, he overtook several competitors, including big names like Niki Lauda and Alain Prost. He crossed the finish line in second place, but many believe that if the race hadn't been stopped, Ayrton would have won. Throughout the season, Ayrton earned other notable results, such as a third place at the British Grand Prix and another podium finish at the Portuguese Grand Prix. These performances showed that he wasn't just another rookie, but a driver with extraordinary potential, capable of competing with the best even in adverse conditions. Despite the technical limitations of Toleman, Ayrton finished the championship in 9th place in the driver's standings, an impressive feat for a rookie in a mid-grid team. He quickly gained the respect of other drivers, engineers, and fans, who saw in him the beginning of a brilliant career. In addition to his skill on the track, Ayrton's first year in Formula One was also marked by his determined and perfectionist personality. He was constantly involved in the development of the car, providing detailed feedback to the engineers and seeking ways to improve performance at every race. This commitment would become one of his trademarks throughout his career. Ayrton Senna's first year in Formula One was just the beginning of a journey that would lead him to the status of a motorsport legend. He showed that with talent, hard work, and determination, any obstacle could be overcome. And even while competing for a small team, he had already achieved something priceless: the hearts of the fans and the respect of his rivals. Chapter 4. When and how his first victory happened. Ayrton Senna's first victory in Formula One was a defining moment, not only in his career but also in the history of motorsport. The big day came on April 21, 1985, during the Portuguese Grand Prix, held at the Estoril circuit. Racing for the Lotus team, Ayrton demonstrated to the world why he was considered one of Formula One's greatest prospects. The race was held under extremely challenging weather conditions, with heavy rain making the track slippery and treacherous. However, these were exactly the conditions in which Ayrton thrived. He started from pole position, showcasing his skill in fast laps from the very beginning. With flawless driving, Senna dominated the race from start to finish, leading every lap. His main competitors that day were Italian Michele Alboreto from Ferrari, who finished in second place, and Frenchman Patrick Tambay, who completed the podium in third. Despite the pressure from his rivals, Ayrton stayed calm and controlled the race with mastery, building a significant lead over the other drivers. The victory at Estoril was more than just a win. It was a display of pure talent and determination. Ayrton crossed the finish line with more than a minute's lead over Alboreto, clearly showing that he was a remarkable driver. This performance in the rain also helped solidify his reputation as the Rain King, a title that would follow him throughout his career. After the race, Ayrton celebrated emotionally, dedicating the win to his team and to everyone who had believed in him. This was the first of many triumphs that would mark his journey in Formula One. More than just a victory, that day marked the beginning of a legend, and the world was beginning to realize that Ayrton Senna was not only a talented driver but one of the greatest the sport had ever seen. Chapter 5. Ayrton Senna's first World Championship title. Ayrton Senna's first World Championship title in Formula One came in 1988, marking the beginning of an era of dominance and achievement for the Brazilian driver. He raced for McLaren, a team that at the time had the most competitive car on the grid, equipped with Honda engines and cutting-edge technology. The partnership with Alain Prost, his teammate and rival, made that season one of the most memorable in Formula One history. The 1988 season consisted of 16 races, and Senna began facing challenges early on, as Prost, an experienced driver, proved to be extremely competitive. However, Ayrton quickly found his rhythm and began to deliver iconic moments. He won the first race at the San Marino Grand Prix in Imola and continued to accumulate victories, especially in challenging conditions, where his skill was amplified. One of the most memorable moments came at the Monaco Grand Prix, where Ayrton not only won but dominated the race with a spectacular performance, solidifying his status as the King of Monaco. However, the season was not without its mistakes and challenges. Ayrton made some errors, such as at the Italian Grand Prix, when he was involved in an accident while leading. Even so, his determination and ability to recover put him right back in the fight for the title. The World Championship was decided at the Japanese Grand Prix in Suzuka, a track that would become special in his career. Ayrton needed to win to secure the championship, and he did so in epic fashion. Starting from pole position, the Brazilian encountered a problem at the start, which dropped him to 14th place. However, with a masterful performance, he overtook one competitor after another. In a race marked by his grit and mastery, Senna passed Prost on lap 28 and took the lead, crossing the finish line as the new world champion. The 1988 championship win was much more than a sporting victory. It was the confirmation of Ayrton Senna as one of the greatest talents in Formula One, recognized for his speed, intelligence, and passion for the sport. For the Brazilian people, it was a moment of national pride, and Senna became an even bigger hero. From then on, he not only solidified his name in the history of motorsport but also began building his legacy as one of the greatest icons in global sports. Chapter 6. Ayrton Senna's last two World Championships. After securing his first World Championship in 1988, Ayrton Senna proved to the world that he was determined to stay at the top. His last two world titles, in 1990 and 1991, cemented his position as one of the greatest drivers in Formula One history. These victories were not easily achieved, marked by intense rivalries and technical challenges that Ayrton faced with mastery and determination. The 1990 title was a direct rematch against Alain Prost, who had moved to Ferrari after leaving McLaren. The season was defined by a fierce battle between the two, already known for their heated rivalry. Everything culminated in the Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka, where Senna started from pole position, but on the dirty side of the track, something he considered unfair. On the very first corner, there was a collision between Senna and Prost, knocking both out of the race. As a result, Ayrton secured the title, as Prost could no longer catch him in the points. The incident sparked much controversy and remains a topic of debate among fans and experts to this day. The third title came in 1991, in a season that was less confrontational but equally challenging. McLaren faced increasing competition from Williams, especially with the rise of British driver Nigel Mansell. Senna, however, demonstrated his technical and strategic superiority by winning the first four races of the season, establishing a crucial lead in the championship. His dominance on iconic tracks like Monaco and Interlagos highlighted his unique ability to extract the maximum from the car, even in adverse conditions. The race that secured his third championship was again in Japan, at Suzuka, where Ayrton finished in second place behind his teammate Gerhard Berger. This result was enough to secure the title before the final race of the season. The 1991 season was particularly special because it marked the global recognition of Ayrton as a complete driver, capable of combining speed, intelligence, and an innate ability to adapt to changes in the sport. These two titles not only solidified Ayrton Senna's legacy as one of the greatest drivers in Formula One, but also showcased his ability to overcome adversity and face high-level rivals. Alain Prost and Nigel Mansell, his main competitors during these years, were extremely talented drivers, but Ayrton proved that his determination and talent were unmatched. The 1990 and 1991 seasons were more than just sporting achievements. They represented the essence of a driver who never gave up in his pursuit of the top spot on the podium. Chapter 7. Rivals and Controversies. Prost and Piquet. Ayrton Senna built his Formula One career not only through victories and championships but also through intense rivalries that shaped his legacy. Among the most notable names were Alain Prost, the Professor, and Nelson Piquet, a three-time world champion and fellow Brazilian. His relationships with both were intense, filled with tense moments and controversies, yet fundamental to the narrative of Senna as one of the greatest drivers in history. Senna's most famous rivalry was with Alain Prost. The two were teammates at McLaren in 1988, but their initial mutual respect quickly turned into a fierce competition. Prost was known for his cerebral and strategic approach, while Senna was celebrated for his passion and aggressive driving style. This clash of personalities fueled conflicts that defined the sport. In 1989, during the Japanese Grand Prix, their rivalry reached its peak. The two collided at a decisive corner, leading to Senna's disqualification and Prost claiming the world championship in what was Prost's final season with McLaren before moving to Ferrari. The following year, the battle continued, with Prost now driving for Ferrari. Once again, Suzuka became the stage for a historic collision. This time, Senna intentionally crashed into Prost at the first corner, securing his 1990 title. While many condemned Senna's actions, others saw it as retribution for what he perceived as injustices the previous year. These events solidified one of Formula One's greatest rivalries. Remarkably, the two reconciled years later, and Prost was one of the pallbearers at Senna's funeral. With Nelson Piquet, the rivalry took a different tone. Both being Brazilian,
Eu estou aqui de novo no meio desses dois feras. Em 2 semanas, 2 dobradinhas brasileiras. E nessa corrida de Detroit, uma particularidade. Os dois levaram a corrida toda sem troca de pneu. O Piquet teve que trocar, mas porque foi obrigado, por causa de um furo logo no início. E o Ayrton levou as 63 voltas sem troca de pneu. Você esperava isso?
Furthermore, Piquet made personal derogatory remarks, intensifying the tension between the two. Despite this, Senna often maintained a reserved attitude toward Piquet, avoiding direct confrontations. These rivalries, though fraught with tension, were pivotal in building the legend of Ayrton Senna. The clashes with Prost brought moments of pure excitement for Formula One fans, while the dynamic with Piquet showed that even compatriots could be fierce rivals. In the end, these stories not only highlighted Senna's competitiveness, but also revealed the complexity of his personality and the profound impact he had on those around him, both on and off the track. Chapter 8. The Friendship with Gerhard Berger. Laughter and respect at McLaren. Amid the intense rivalries and high-pressure moments of Formula One, Ayrton Senna's relationship with Gerhard Berger stood out as a refreshing source of humor and genuine camaraderie. The Austrian joined McLaren as Senna's teammate in 1990, replacing Alain Prost, and the two quickly formed a unique bond. Despite competing in such a serious sport, Berger and Senna developed a partnership defined by pranks, mutual respect, and deep admiration. From the outset, Berger's easygoing personality proved to be a perfect complement to Senna's intensity. The Austrian became known for his practical jokes, often at Senna's expense. In one famous instance, Berger swapped Senna's passport with a fake one featuring a gorilla's photo, causing laughter behind the scenes. On another occasion, he threw Senna's suitcase, full of brand-new clothes, out of a hotel window. Though Senna was serious on the track, he knew how to respond in kind, turning their shared moments into light-hearted, unforgettable experiences. Despite the constant pranks, there was immense respect between the two. Berger openly acknowledged Senna's unparalleled talent and often spoke about how much he learned from observing him. Senna, in turn, appreciated Berger's skill and valued their partnership at McLaren. This mutual respect was particularly significant in a sport where internal team conflicts often turned teammates into fierce rivals. One of the most symbolic moments of their friendship occurred during the 1991 Japanese Grand Prix. After clinching his third world championship, Senna allowed Berger to take the race victory by letting him pass on the final lap. This gesture showcased not only Ayrton's trust in his teammate, but also his gratitude for the friendship and team spirit Berger had brought to McLaren. Off the track, their bond remained strong even after Berger left McLaren. They traveled together, shared time with their families, and maintained a relationship built on support and companionship. Berger was deeply affected by Senna's tragic death, stating that Ayrton was not only the greatest driver he had ever worked with, but also one of the best friends he had in life. Their friendship stood as a rare example of how genuine connections can thrive, even in the most competitive environments. Chapter 9. The epic victory at the 1991 Brazilian Grand Prix. The 1991 Brazilian Grand Prix stands as one of the most thrilling and unforgettable races of Ayrton Senna's career. Held at the Interlagos circuit in São Paulo, the race marked the Brazilian driver's first victory on home soil, in front of a passionate crowd that had eagerly awaited this moment since his Formula One debut. What made this victory even more remarkable was the almost superhuman effort required to achieve it. Senna started from pole position, a familiar place for him, but it quickly became evident that this would not be an easy race. The circuit posed significant challenges, and the weather conditions demanded exceptional skill and strategy. From the very beginning, Ayrton had to fend off intense pressure from his competitors, particularly the Williams drivers Nigel Mansell and Riccardo Patrese, who were strong contenders that season. Yet, Senna held onto the lead, displaying his flawless technique lap after lap. The real battle began in the closing stages of the race when his McLaren's gearbox started malfunctioning. Initially, he lost fourth gear, a major setback, but the situation worsened as his car became stuck in sixth gear. On a technical track like Interlagos, where frequent gear changes are crucial, this mechanical failure forced Ayrton to drive with almost miraculous precision, maintaining control and fending off his rivals. Despite the immense physical and mental strain, Senna managed to sustain an incredible pace and held his lead until the checkered flag. As he crossed the finish line, the crowd erupted into jubilant celebration. Ayrton had achieved his dream of winning in Brazil, a goal he had cherished since the start of his career. However, the extraordinary effort took a heavy toll. After parking his car, Senna was visibly exhausted, suffering from severe cramps and barely able to exit the cockpit. The podium ceremony was a moment of raw emotion and symbolism. Ayrton could hardly lift the trophy due to his pain and exhaustion, but the smile on his face reflected how much the victory meant to him. The image of Senna raising the trophy with great difficulty while the crowd sang the Brazilian national anthem in unison became one of Formula One's most iconic scenes. This victory was not merely a sporting triumph, it was a testament to Senna's grit, determination, and deep love for Brazil. For his fans, it was the ultimate confirmation of Ayrton's status as a true national hero.
Can't believe it! Being very near to win the Brazilian Grand Prix many other occasions. We've been always very competitive, but for different reasons we were never able to do it. And today is a memorable day in my career, in my life. I'm over the moon.
Chapter 10. Ayrton Senna's Love Life. Ayrton Senna's love life was often a subject of fascination and, at times, controversy. A charismatic man with a strong personality, he captivated admirers both on and off the track. Among his most notable relationships were his marriage to Lilian de Vasconcelos Souza and his romances with public figures like Suxa Menegal and Adrian Galisteu. Ayrton married Lilian in 1981, before moving to Europe to pursue his motorsport career. At the time, he was still in the early stages of his journey in racing. Although they were childhood friends and shared a deep connection, their marriage was short-lived. The demanding life of competitions, long distances, and the pressures of his burgeoning career contributed to the end of their relationship, which lasted less than 2 years. Despite their divorce, Ayrton and Lilian maintained a friendly relationship. In the years that followed, as Ayrton's star began to rise, he was romantically involved with Brazilian television presenter Suxa Menegal. Their relationship was widely followed by the media and adored by the public, who saw them as an iconic couple. Ayrton and Suxa were one of Brazil's most talked-about pairs at the time. Although their relationship eventually ended, they always expressed mutual respect. Suxa often spoke fondly of Ayrton in interviews, highlighting his generosity and determination. Another significant relationship was with Adrian Galisteu, a model and TV presenter, who was with Ayrton during the final years of his life. Adrian frequently traveled with Ayrton and became a prominent figure in his personal circle. Their relationship was intense and passionate, despite criticism from some quarters at the time. Galisteu often recalls Ayrton as a generous man who consistently sought to do good, both in his personal and professional life. Ayrton's love life revealed a more human side to the legendary driver, showing that despite his fame and success on the track, he experienced dreams and challenges like anyone else. These relationships brought moments of joy but also reflected the difficulties of living in the public eye and balancing an intense career. Ultimately, Ayrton Senna's romances mirrored his essence. A man deeply passionate about his craft, the people in his life, and life itself. His legacy extends far beyond the racetrack, and to this day, those who shared part of his journey describe him as unforgettable, whether as a driver, a friend, or a partner. Chapter 11. Ayrton Senna's key friendships and connections in motorsport. Beyond being one of the greatest drivers in history, Ayrton Senna was known for forming deep connections with people both within and outside the world of motorsport. Among his most notable friendships were those with fellow Brazilian drivers and iconic figures in the sport, such as Rubens Barrichello and broadcaster Galvão Bueno, whose voice became symbolic of Senna's career. With Rubens Barrichello, Ayrton shared a bond akin to that of an older brother. Rubinho, who debuted in Formula One in 1993, was a promising young driver who looked up to Ayrton as a source of inspiration. Ayrton, in turn, recognized Rubens' special talent and made it a point to offer guidance and support. A particularly poignant moment in their friendship occurred during the tragic weekend at Imola in 1994, when Rubens suffered a serious crash during practice. Ayrton was one of the first to visit him in the hospital, demonstrating genuine concern. Despite his intense focus on his own career, Ayrton always made time to encourage and support his fellow Brazilian drivers. Another standout friendship was with Galvão Bueno, the voice behind the most iconic moments of Senna's career. Galvão was not just a commentator. He was an ardent fan and a personal friend of the driver. The race broadcasts on Rede Globo became legendary, thanks to the emotion Galvão brought when narrating Ayrton's victories. His famous cry, "Ayrton Senna do Brasil," resonated in millions of Brazilian homes, encapsulating the pride the nation felt for the driver. Off the track, the two shared light-hearted moments, and Galvio frequently spoke in interviews about Ayrton's charisma and humility. Ayrton's relationships with other Brazilian drivers of the time were also marked by respect and camaraderie. While his rivalry with Nelson Piquet was intense, there was a mutual understanding of the pressures of representing Brazil in such a competitive sport. With drivers like Mauricio Gugelmin and Christian Fittipaldi, Ayrton was always approachable, offering encouragement and sharing his experience to help them grow. These friendships reveal a more human side of Ayrton Senna, a man who, despite his intensity and competitiveness on the track, fostered meaningful and lasting connections. He was a mentor, a friend, and an idol who inspired not only with his skill behind the wheel but also with how he treated those around him. These bonds contributed to solidifying his legacy, making him even more beloved and remembered, not just as a driver but as a symbol of unity and generosity for Brazil and the world. Chapter 12. Ayrton Senna's Final Weekend. The weekend of the 1994 San Marino Grand Prix at the Imola circuit is remembered as one of the darkest in Formula One history. It not only marked the end of Ayrton Senna's life but also became a turning point for safety in motorsport. Over the course of 3 days, the sport endured a series of tragic incidents and irreparable losses, beginning on Friday during practice. On Friday, April 29th, young Brazilian driver Rubens Barrichello, then just 21 years old and racing for Jordan, suffered a horrific crash during qualifying. His car launched over a curb, collided violently with the barriers, and flipped over. Barrichello was knocked unconscious and rushed to the hospital. Ayrton, a close friend and mentor to Rubens, visited him immediately after the incident, deeply concerned. Though Rubens survived with minor injuries, the accident profoundly affected Ayrton. The tragedy continued on Saturday, April 30th. During the qualifying session, Austrian driver Roland Ratzenberger, racing for Simtek, suffered a fatal accident. His car's front wing detached, causing him to lose control and crash at over 300 kilometers per hour. The scene was harrowing, and Ratzenberger's death sent shockwaves through the paddock. Ayrton was visibly shaken. He sat silently in grief and discussed the fragility of life and the dangers of the sport with close friends. He even considered withdrawing from the race but ultimately decided to compete, driven by his passion for racing. On Sunday, May 1st, race day, the atmosphere at the circuit was somber. Ayrton started from pole position, as was his custom, and held the lead in the opening laps. However, shortly after the start, a multi-car collision occurred, prompting the deployment of the safety car. When the race resumed on lap 7, Ayrton maintained his lead, but as he approached the high-speed Tamburello corner, he lost control of his Williams. The car veered off the track and crashed into a concrete wall at around 218 kilometers per hour. The impact was catastrophic. Despite the rapid response of medical personnel, Ayrton sustained fatal injuries, including a severe head trauma caused by a suspension component that pierced his helmet. He was pronounced dead a few hours later at the hospital. Inside his car, rescuers found an Austrian flag, which Ayrton had intended to raise in tribute to Roland Ratzenberger had he won the race. Ayrton Senna's death sent shockwaves around the world. What should have been a thrilling weekend of racing became a painful reminder of the sport's inherent dangers. His passing served as a catalyst for sweeping changes in Formula One safety, with an unprecedented focus on protecting drivers' lives. Ayrton left the world, but his legacy and spirit endure, inspiring generations of drivers and fans alike. Chapter 13. Ayrton Senna's connection with the Brazilian people. Ayrton Senna was more than just a Formula One driver. He was an icon for the Brazilian people. His extraordinary talent on the track, combined with his humility and dedication, transformed him into a true national hero. Every victory was celebrated as a triumph for Brazil, and every setback was met with unwavering support from his fans. Senna embodied hope, resilience, and determination for the Brazilian people. His journey, marked by skill, courage, and charisma, elevated him to the status of an eternal idol. Senna understood the significance he held for his fans and always sought to give back their affection in a heartfelt way. He used his fame to support philanthropic efforts, particularly those focused on underprivileged children and youth. His foundation, the Ayrton Senna Institute, established in 1994, aimed to provide education and opportunities for thousands of children across Brazil. Believing that education was the greatest gift he could offer, Senna dedicated much of his life to social causes. To this day, the Institute continues his mission, positively impacting millions of children throughout the country and preserving his legacy. Senna's commitment to Brazilian children extended beyond his foundation. He often visited hospitals, schools, and underserved communities, spreading hope and joy to those in need. His presence was always a reason for celebration, and his ability to inspire those around him, especially the young, was remarkable. He was living proof that with dedication and courage, anyone could achieve their dreams, regardless of their background. The bond between Senna and Brazilian children was unique, with many viewing him as a role model of perseverance and kindness. Senna's connection to Brazil wasn't just about his social contributions. He held a deep love for his country, evident not only in his victories but also in his everyday actions. A passionate football fan, like many Brazilians, Senna was a devoted supporter of Corinthians, his favorite team. Football played a significant role in his childhood, and throughout his life, he never hesitated to show his enthusiasm for the sport. During his career, he frequently used his platform to support and celebrate his team, creating a strong bond with the Brazilian people who saw in him a reflection of their national passion for football. In addition to his love for Corinthians, Senna stood out for the simplicity and accessibility he maintained despite his global fame. Even at the height of his international success, he never distanced himself from his people. His humility and generosity defined him. He wasn't just a hero on the racetrack but also a shining example of how dedication and goodwill could positively impact the lives of others. Today, Ayrton Senna's name is remembered as a symbol of strength, generosity, and love for Brazil. A legacy that transcends sports and lives on in every child whose life is transformed through the work of his institute. Chapter 14, Ayrton Senna, the Brazilian hero who crossed borders. Beyond being a hero in Brazil, Senna was respected and admired worldwide. His international career established him as one of Formula One's most iconic drivers, earning fans across the globe with his exceptional skill on the track. However, what truly captivated the global audience was his unique personality. Senna was not just an extraordinary driver but also a remarkable human being who continuously sought growth, learning, and opportunities to help others. His approach to competition, defined by an impeccable work ethic and unwavering dedication, made him a figure who transcended sports. Senna is remembered today, both in Brazil and abroad, as a symbol of excellence and humanity. For Brazilians, he is not just a distant memory of a great driver but a constant presence in the nation's heart. His victories, his love for Brazil, and his social contributions are the reasons he remains a revered figure. Around the world, he is celebrated as one of the greatest athletes of all time. But in Brazil, Senna is much more. He is a symbol of resilience, courage, and love for his country. Cherished and remembered with gratitude by every Brazilian who witnessed him achieve the impossible on the racetrack and transform lives off it. Ayrton Senna's legacy lives on, not only in the victories of his sport but also in the dreams of children and young people who, inspired by him, still believe they can go far, whether on the asphalt or in life.
Você vê situações como essas, você pensa realmente se até quando você vai resistir a tudo isso? Se você vai passar por tudo isso e sair ileso, sair bem, não só fisicamente, mas psicologicamente. Será que, de repente, depois de tanto sucesso, não está na hora de dar um tempo?
No dia 1º de maio de 1994, o destino tirou brutalmente a chance dele escolher a hora de parar.
Não estava como sempre, estava branco, estava pálido, não estava bem, parecia que não estava bem. Estava diferente das outras vezes.
Ele tá bem. Tá, ele tomou um susto, ele tá meio, né, chocado, mas ele tá bem. Ele não tem nada quebrado, aparentemente. Tá falando normal.
a vocês todos que assistiram e estão assistindo agora, eu digo que seja quem você for, seja qualquer posição que você tenha na vida, nível altíssimo ou mais baixo social, tenha sempre como meta muita força, muita determinação e sempre faça tudo com muito amor e com muita fé em Deus, que um dia você chega lá, de alguma maneira você chega lá.